Welcome to the Lila Life Show. I am your host, Linda Andrews, and great to be with you today for another one of our integration sprint episodes. These are briefer segments that my aim is to give you some different teaching topics that you can implement into your life and business right now for greater well-being and prosperity. So buckle up, we got a little Lila sprint, and today what I want to talk to you about is Lila. This is a term that I learned back in 2015 during my yoga teacher training. I got to spend a month at the Shivananda Ashram in Paradise Island. I heard this word, I found it beautiful, and I learned what it meant. It means divine play in Sanskrit. And eventually my name became Linda, last name Andrews, which LA is my initials, and my name is Linda. So there does feel like some fun, like play on words here, but it was not necessarily intentional because I had a maiden name that was not starting with an A. Anyway, so divine play, why did this unlock so much in me? Even when I hear that word, it makes me excited. Divine, for me, that implies a connection with something greater than me, God, infinity, your belief system, insert that there, and play. Who doesn't like to play? If you don't like to play, you may not like this episode. If you don't like to play, maybe this will just unlock something inside of you that is looking to be unearthed. Who knows? How does this connect to business? I believe that if we're in this spirit of Leela every day in your business, in your life, it makes everything elevated. It makes things more accessible to your highest expression. And so, how do you put this into practice? One is a regular audit of your time, energy, attention, money. If you're a regular listener, you know this is the TEAM acronym, especially for early stage founders who don't have a team. They may have themselves accessing their inner team. Again, looking at time, energy, attention, and money. And so when you look at that and you do that audit, you know what you're already doing. And then you can consider how could you activate some of that divine play, the playfulness, the creativity, the joy that is going to enhance your already roles and responsibilities. Experiment. Be curious. I'm curious what you come up with. It's likely going to look different for everyone. I have my little things, my little quirks that I can do that make this feel this certain way for me. And I'm curious what yours are. And so if you have any shares, we want to know. Send us a little tag or a message, team@lilalife.co. We want to hear. And so after you do this audit and after you consider ways that you can implement this into your life, you do it. And this element of action or new action or assessing your existing habits and patterns and actions and making change, right? That's that inner commitment. That is you deciding, decidir, to cut off in Sanskrit, and then making those changes. What are your unique gifts and skills? When I think about the world and the roughly 8 billion people on it, hello everyone. Hi. I think about, whoa, what would the world look like if everybody was accessing their gifts and skills? And when I think of gifts and skills, that feels like a bit of a more detailed definition of what I imagine divine play to be. Each person is different here, and each different person has these different gifts and skills they were blessed with in this birth, this life experience. And how can you access that and implement that more in your day to day? I like talking to entrepreneurs about business. I like getting curious about this because I imagine that a business built on a bunch of people activating their gifts and skills allows more to be accessible. And so I'm curious what business outcomes are possible when the underlying infrastructure has this built in. That's really at the heart and soul of everything that I'm doing here. And if you're not in business, you have other areas of your life. You're a parent, you volunteer, you're a caregiver, whatever that is for you, accessing and implement this will also ripple and have higher outcomes for everyone. You know, when I do this little intention setting, for example, prior to the podcast, every guest that's on the show before we record, they and I are tapping into our gifts and skills through a mini visualization, setting an intention. I hope you can feel that when you're tuning in and listening to the show. That is my intention. And so you have different ways to apply your gifts and skills. You have different ways you're implementing, say, strategic thinking, innovation, leadership, and imagine what would be possible if you were doing that from that divine play, Lila lens. The creativity that this can unlock, especially in entrepreneurship, can break you out of some of that mundane mold or that deeply programmed mold and open up more possibilities, right? It's like these aha moments, these huge moments of insight. You sometimes hear this described as the flow state, which I think is a great word for it, but I also think there's something more there. Your divine gifts, your skills, what you were blessed with, what you have for this world. Gosh, it makes me so excited. And I do think the world is somewhat bananas. I'm not pretending like that's that's not happening. I'm sometimes on the edge of my seat and I really have to actively manage that time, energy, and attention going on to these external curious world events, turning that back inside to what I can actually affect, what I can actually impact. How can I elevate the way that I show up in different areas of my life and all my relationships? That's what I'm more interested in than the, Bravo curtain call of every day with whatever's on the edge of our seats, news, entertainment related, and the many other shapes and sizes of distraction. So we've talked about you looking at your existing path, where are things at, you looking at your gifts and skills. You may have a desire to make some changes. Tony Robbins talks about your life blueprint and your life conditions, and how if they're not matching, that this can create friction and tension, and that's where a lot of the suffering comes from. So if you don't have a new life plan that you're putting into place, it's how can you embrace your existing life conditions and elevate that while still working towards perhaps the blueprint that you've put into place. And again, thinking about that with life and business. Things may not be where you want them to be today. You have some ideals, some goals that you're working towards. And what I notice as a trap is I'm going to be miserable until X, Y, or Z happens. And I'm just telling you, you're pushing the ball down the court. You're not going to get there. When you can say, right now, I'm going to embrace this higher perspective and work towards X, Y, or Z. That's where the magic happens. That's the Lila at play. And that's what gets me stoked. So if you can't sense this, there is a state of being that I'm implying in all of this. When you approach everything in your world from this lens of Lila, and you can embrace curiosity, openness as you experience challenges, setbacks, resistance, plateaus, stagnation, however that's showing up for you. What can I learn from this? What is this trying to teach me? What is going on here? What perspective or contrast is being shown to me? And then that ripples into a totally different way. So thinking about where can you bring in what I'm going to say tactical right now, tactical play, creative expression, exploration into even aspects of the more mundane, some of these rudimentary business practices. I think about how good can I make this process, this system? Well, how can I optimize this? How can I make this more precise? Where is the highest expression of X, Y, or Z? It becomes this fun little game. I'm starting to get more and more when you hear people talk about business as a game, because we're talking about Lila and divine play. At some point, we have to talk about a game. And if all of this is a game or was a game, we should say is, because we're here right now. If this is all a game, how are you playing it? Whoa. How are you playing the game? And there's certain, for some reason, I cannot tell you why, maybe we're having a download moment. The term duty, you've heard me, if you're a regular listener, talk about precision, but duty, this word duty, this is my duty. There are many things that are your roles and responsibilities that are your duty. And so instead of being in this kind of complaint game and resentment, it's like, how amazing can I do this? How can I activate Lila in this? And it, to me, just brings this invitation of honored. I am so honored to have this duty. I am so blessed that I get to do this. And then boom, boom, boom. something new emerges from that state of being than some of the other state of beings you may be accessing. So I'm also curious, any innovation, any spontaneity, maybe little tricklings of intuition that are coming through? How is this showing up for you when you're tapping into this more? So with all of this being said, you're getting your integration sprint, a few practical ways to apply this and put this into motion, using your strengths and gifts more, making time for you to thrive in whatever this is for you, prioritizing the tasks that align with your vision and values, again, accessing this state of being. I'm experimenting with something on my calendar called creative time. And for me, that can show up in a number of different ways: cooking, painting, writing. Some of my favorites, gardening. And then, oh, it's so funny. Some of those are actual like chores. If my mom's listening, it's like, oh, she figured it out, making chores fun. I always had some crazy chore hacks growing up, like hiding my laundry instead of putting it away, which was probably its own bit of divine play in the moment, if I think about it. So I'm curious for you, implementing some of these aspects into your life, into your business. What does that do for you? What does that unlock for you? What is accessing joy more, play more, do in your life, do in your business, do in your relationships? I want to know. Share if you want to. And thank you so much for tuning into this episode of the Integration Sprint on the Lila Life Show. Like, share, subscribe. We appreciate. We pair this with some emails if you're on our email list. And we're going to every other week be sharing interviews with you with other specialists in business fundamentals, in well-being, and make sure that that's supporting you along your journey. If you have any feedback, if you have any shares, we love to hear. Many blessings to you on the journey. Signing off in harmony.